It was looking good on her little show today.
Mm-hmm.
Or was it? I saw it on Facebook. Was it today or yesterday?
Yesterday. Yeah, they're at a little over 9,000 views on all platforms on Facebook for this episode.
So
All right.
We're up to over 50.
All right, let's start recording the mixer in 5, 4, 3.
Welcome to Dave Talks Some More, the podcast at the intersection of humor and, Hey, I'm your host, Dave, and together we'll explore a riveting world of mundane topics with unparalleled indifference. So get ready for a riveting journey through,
Whatever.
This is Dave Talks Some More. It really is the
Far
perfect,
out.
It really is the perfect introduction, isn't it?
it is great. Yes. I'm looking up here on our big screen, which the viewers cannot see, and that's fine. But I see these ads. We don't have any new sponsors, do we?
Right. Yeah, right. Sure. This thing will never make a dollar. Not a dollar. That's actually a topic for today is this show makes no money. That's probably next week's title.
Well, how are those goals
make
coming
no
along
money.
that I asked you guys?
We're going right into that.
Great.
Okay, well, that's
Great.
fine. The very last thing that we'll talk about today, by the way, thanks to everybody for joining. We're starting back asswards as always here. So Danny joined.
It's my fault.
Yes. Well, no, because
Today.
Yeah. Well, we're here on Saturday instead of Sunday because Sean's got stuff to do, as everybody does. But Sean's special, so we bend the schedule for Sean.
Thank you.
We weren't here at all last week because Danny joined a cult and he had to go to his cult meeting. And I told you I was going to ask you how was Austin? I assume you went for the barbecue and maybe to visit with the.
No, it was we were there for 11 hours a day at the seminar, and
yeah, that's what they call it, a seminar. Y'all sell flowers at the airport as part of the seminar?
It was absolutely life-changing, and we're only halfway through. We're going back next week.
Tell the people what this is all
Well, we'll
about.
have to
because I'm intrigued.
You should go by. I mean, I should meet up with my daughter, and y'all could talk about podcasting.
Yeah. And Sydney should go to whatever. I'm not going to, I can't. It sounds like I'm selling a cult when I tell people about this whole thing. So
yeah,
no, it was great. And I don't want to detract from the show or take away from the show today, but it was phenomenal.
Okay. Well, it's been recommended as a result of whatever happened in Austin.
It's a podcasting seminar, correct?
No.
No. He's
emotional intelligence.
Yeah. Okay. What does that mean?
Okay. So do you know anything about internal family systems?
The stick figures on cars.
Oh my God. Lord help us.
Oh, that's good.
No.
Sean, you're on a roll.
No.
That's good.
All right, we'll just have to talk about this at another time.
No, you're not going to tell us about it.
That'd be a good clip. That'd be a good clip for TikTok.
No, it's about becoming.
Yeah, I thought there
God.
would be.
I can't do this. You guys.
Here's the thing. Like 5 days ago, approximately, maybe a week ago, Sean and I get a text from Daniel talking about how we need to set show goals.
Yeah.
And, it felt very Tony Robbins to me, like, really? Are we really going to do this?
We need a DTSM vision board.
Yeah. That I was kind of like, what's all this about? I have actually.
He is trying to promote.
He's trying to help us, and
He
we're
is.
just taking
And
a
I-
big
I'm
old
giving-
stump all over it.
I'm giving you some credit. He's being a good producer.
He's being a great producer. He's like, he's like the producer that says, hey, I think we need to get into the studio and cut an album. And we're just making fun of him like, oh, you want us to cut an album and get real popular and go on tour. Yeah, right.
So
Pussy.
there's this Netflix series called Nobody Wants This. Have y'all seen that?
No.
And these two girls have a sex podcast, and one of the girls falls in love with a rabbi, and she's a Gentile, and it's really funny and hilarious. But they have a producer of their show, and the producer is always telling the girls, "Oh, I've got to go and talk to this potential sponsor." And so the point of this, me bringing this up, is he could help us get some sponsors. Potentially,
yeah, we could probably help ourselves.
But
get
we've
some
got
sponsors.
to get some viewers though.
No,
so.
you don't. You just have to sell yourself. No.
Well, I'm not above selling myself.
Will the sponsors? Will the sponsors bring more viewers?
Yes.
Well, how is that?
Because it will appear as though you're a legitimate podcast.
Well, we are
right now. You're just bullshitting your way through the studio.
Isn't that what every podcast
bullshitting
does?
our way through life?
Yes.
Podcast is absolutely. Podcast is just a moment in time, a slice of what it's like.
In our professional careers, we get paid to talk and argue, and in our non-professional,
you pay me to talk and argue.
Well, we don't get paid to talk.
I will have people say, "I listen to your podcast," and I always say, "Why?" Like what?
That's great. Jesus.
I really do.
My God.
I'm like, why? It's
no, just take the compliment. Say thank you.
Well, I sometimes ask why, because I'm a little curious as to what it is they find interesting, so that we can do more of that.
Okay, then why don't you phrase it? Okay, well, thank you. What do you like about it?
Well, I mean, that's what I do. I don't say why you're an idiot.
No, that's what I say.
Well, we needed you to clarify that.
Yeah, I am trying to. I would like to see us.
I'm not dumb.
I'm not calling you dumb. I'm just saying I would like to see our podcast take off.
Okay, so you have a goal. What's your goal?
I mean, I would like to have enough viewers where we could, legitimately sell some sponsors.
Why? Why do we want?
Because that would pay for, and we could. I mean, I like being able to talk to the masses. But we don't have any masses yet.
Is this our goal? What's our goal?
I mean,
goal going to be?
Let
me
ask you this.
Masses?
Let me ask you this. I mean, we'll never get here, and no one's listening to this. So it won't matter.
Whoa!
Do you think we would
Tony Robbins is just throwing up off stage listening to you?
Well, I mean, I would love to have
We're never going to do it. It'll never happen to us. We're just going to give up now.
I would love to have a Joe Rogan type podcast.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, he makes what, $400 billion on his last contract?
Uh-huh.
I'm convinced that we could do just as good of a job with his guests as he does.
Exactly.
Did you?
I agree.
You're laughing. Well,
see, now you're over here.
Now you're the one
us.
being negative. Let me tell you what, bud. I listened to the Zuckerberg interview.
It was terrible.
You didn't. It was awful.
I did listen to it on the way back from Austin.
It sucked because it was like the first 15 minutes was where Zuckerberg gave his canned presentation about it wasn't my fault that we were censoring. The Biden administration made us do it. And it was all canned and it was all BS. And Rogan didn't push back at all on it. He was just like, oh, really? And then it was an hour and a half of talking about how Zuckerberg's into martial arts and archery, which if that's what you want to talk about, that's fine. But if you have Zuckerberg on your podcast, I think you want to talk about Meta and you want to talk about AI and you want to talk about social media and you want to talk about there's all kinds of things to talk about other than Joe Rogan stuff that has to do with it was Joe Rogan talking about Joe Rogan and asking Mark Zuckerberg, what do you think about me, Joe Rogan? It sucked.
Well, he should have asked him about that bozo haircut he had.
It's the same haircut that Zuckerberg's been rolling for a long time.
Dude, that was like a big
big
blonde afro. I mean, it looked like a clown.
Fro. It was.
Normally he's shaved head.
Well, anyway, yeah, I do believe that between the two of us, we would ask just as good penetrating questions as Rogan. There's just a slight difference. They're not lining up to come on our 50 viewer podcast. They're lining up for the 50 million viewers. We could have had Trump. All we needed was the 50 million viewers.
Well, first of all, we know how to communicate and talk and ask questions.
We do.
So yes, we are. do I think that? I mean, we don't have the personal, I guess, public image that Rogan had when he started his podcast.
Right.
So
yeah, but he didn't make money, and nobody knew anything about his podcast for the first 5 years.
Right.
But people knew who Joe Rogan was.
Yeah, and it still took 5 years for him to pick up any traction.
Right.
Well, then why are you giving me hell? We're on what, show 55?
56.
56. Well, I mean, come on, man. That's not 5 years.
So, but
Right.
I do think, I mean, I legitimately believe, like, I know I mentioned, I think a female guest would add a different dynamic to our conversation. And eventually we could have a guest on and we could have a good, nice, healthy comedic banter back and forth.
Well,
Seems like I suggested this a year ago.
Huh?
Wow.
Seems like I suggested this a year ago.
It's like we're
let's
married.
replay the tape.
It's like we're
But
married.
I do have goals. I mean, I would like to see our little podcast take off.
Okay, well, the first 10 minutes of the show is not great.
Scrap it.
Scrap the first 10 minutes. Fast forward. Just we'll edit this in post.
Yeah, I know our viewers are just riveted with our discussion about how to grow our podcast.
Oh, really? How did our dry January? How's our dry January going?
Well, I signed up for it.
How are you doing?
I'm 100%.
Are you gripping?
Yeah,
You having a hard time?
No, not at all.
I had a moment today because I woke up in a bad mood because Saturday's like the only day that I can sleep late, but my body, which hates me, obviously said, I've got a better idea. Instead of sleeping until 8 o'clock in the morning, what if we woke up at 5 a.m.? That would be awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And when you get to a certain age and stage, your body gets to decide that's how you're going to roll. So I was in a bad mood about that. And
I made myself go back to bed about 5:45 to 6:45.
Does it help?
This morning.
Okay, yeah.
I was able to do it.
If you can do it, that's great. And I knew that I had to get some work done today. I just really needed to do it. And I don't know if I've ever expressed how bad our building is. I hate the building that our office is in. But, I get there and the key card doesn't work, so I can't get into the building. If it had worked, the elevator wouldn't work because the elevator doesn't run on Sundays.
You don't have a bypass?
I have nothing. If my key card doesn't work, there's no getting in unless I call somebody and maybe their key card works. But I didn't want to do that.
You don't have a way to manually get in the building?
No. If there is, I don't know what it is.
I mean, technology, y'all could be hacked and just locked out.
Well, has seemed to have been the case as well. I mean, I have old school technology like a crowbar and just bash out one of the glass doors, but.
Just put your fist through the window.
Yeah. That was kind of the mood that I was in. Let me tell you, this building is so jacked up. It's like a black hole for telecommunications. And anytime somebody calls me on my cell phone, I literally have to pick up my cell phone and run outside so I can take the call because something about the structure of the building or the electromagnetic waves. I don't know what it is, but I cannot take
my parents' house
in my building
was like that, and they had to buy a cell booster.
We've done that
to put in the building. I mean, in the house to make it work.
Yeah. Well, I think when we're negotiating for our next lease, I think I just want to move into the C Spire building. Just. Open up an office on the roof of the C Spire building and say, maybe now I can finally take a cell phone call.
Does the C Spire building, nice. I don't know this, do they have actual offices that they rent out?
To rent out? Not that I know. I imagine not.
The Butler Snow
I don't know.
glass tower does.
They do, but I don't know. I'll tell you, I will never rent an office spot again without taking 100 cell phone calls before I sign a lease.
There you go.
I've learned my lesson.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, constantly.
Yes.
The other thing that I got really entertained about, we missed last week because, like I say, Danny had to go to his cult meeting. but the week before, we were talking about taking down Christmas lights, and you had the totally lame excuse of Epiphany. I had a reason.
I was just saying it is something that people do observe,
right,
or use as an excuse.
That's what I just said. That's literally the words that just came out of my mouth.
But it wasn't my excuse.
Okay, all right.
We have a member in our cult named Epiphany.
Yeah.
Seriously, that's her name.
Stage 3, Epiphany.
Strawberry.
Right.
Chastity.
Chastity, cinnamon.
Ebony spice.
If you know, you know. Yeah, I happened to be driving through Country Club of Jackson yesterday afternoon, and I'm putting them on blast. They're shameful that they've got all their Christmas lights. The whole neighborhood, they've got all of their Christmas lights up. I saw people that had their Christmas trees still up in the window, man. And this is as of Friday, January 17. Epiphany, cinnamon.
Is this near the front gate entrance?
The whole bit, going all the way back to the actual Country Club building and beyond. And it's not just like 1 or 2 or 5 or 10. It's the whole main drag. They've all got all their Christmas. They're not just up. They're on, and the sparkling snowflakes and the dripping icicles and the flashing Christmas tree and the whole thing. And I was like, what kind of redneck Pascagoula trailer park, leave your Christmas lights up all year joint are you people running? So I'm putting them on blast. Y'all are supposed, I love you all. You're supposed to be the thought leaders, the culture leaders, the finance leaders, the art leaders. And, it looked like the Alpine
Let's see, I've had my stuff down for 2 weeks now.
Do what?
I've had my stuff down for 2 weeks.
Exactly. Well, that's what I was talking about 2 weeks ago is Christmas Day. You pull your stuff down. That is the day. Pull your stuff down on Christmas Day. If you're one of these sad people with no willpower, no self-discipline, you'll latch onto this Epiphany excuse.
Well, it's already Valentine's celebration. I mean, you go in the grocery store and Valentine's sweethearts and cupcakes and
so January 17, there's just no excuse. So
all right, so we got a big
better Country Club.
We do have a big day coming up Monday.
We do.
Is this on our topic list?
Sure. It's.
Did I tell you my son's going?
No. Is he going to be allowed in?
So Parker is taking his girlfriend, Helen, and Helen's family has a family friend whose son works for Trump. And they have tickets to the inaugural ball. And they're going in tuxedo, black tie,
sure,
formal dress. And supposedly, Parker told me this morning, because now that they've moved it inside, that they have reserved seating. And so he believes that they're going to be inside wherever they're doing it.
Yeah, the inauguration is on Monday. It's going to be indoors for the first time since Reagan was sworn in January of 1985. There's not going to be a parade. This is all supposedly weather related.
It's going to be 7 degrees Monday.
Yeah, it's been colder than that, and they've done the outdoor inauguration and the outdoor parade when it's been colder than that. I think security had a lot more to do with it than the weather did. Especially
maybe it was 7 when Reagan did it, 7 degrees.
Well, especially because one of the things that we missed because we weren't here last week was we didn't get a chance to talk about the New Orleans attack very much. And
I thought we did cover that. Did we not cover that?
No, I don't think so. The fact that how do you cover all of the side streets? The parade's usually walking down Pennsylvania Avenue. Well, obviously every block, that's a side street coming from both directions. And unless you're going to put up, some giant crates of sand or, I don't know how you would block off all those side streets without, just a monumental disruption in traffic a week ahead of time. And DC needs no further traffic disruptions. It's bad enough as it is. And I'm assuming that this is a lot more about security than it is about the weather. But 7 degrees is pretty good excuse as well.
Well, and who knows what the wind chill is going to be.
Well, there you go. The other thing that has been going on all week, today's Saturday, so we finally get a break from it, is all of the nominees for the cabinets and the undersecretary positions. They've been getting grilled all week to no effect that I could tell. I have not seen anybody that just got. I did not see any nominees that I thought got beaten up too badly. I saw some legislators that got. Yeah, I saw some senators that wound up with egg on their face, but I didn't see any nominees that I thought got beat up. So some of the first votes on some of the first votes for any nominee confirmations come as early as Monday, Inauguration Day, and they're scheduled to roll out. Some of them are not scheduled yet, but during the week they'll be rolling out, and so you kind of assume he gets most of his nominees through the door and into office, by the end of January. He gets the people that he wants, and then off we go.
I haven't really seen anything suggesting that these people won't get approved. The only one that I think was destined to tank was the drunk teenager.
Gates.
Yeah.
Gates. The impression that I get is there's really two criteria for these people. Actual fitness and competence for the job is very much secondary. Like, maybe they could do the job. Who knows? That'd be nice if they could. But most importantly, the two most important criteria are they good at navigating the swamp? That's the second most important thing, and the first most important thing is loyalty. Are you loyal to the president? Because if you're not loyal to him, we have absolutely no interest in nominating you for dog catcher. So that seems to be and that was a mistake that he made when he was going through his first term. He thought competence would be the most important thing and had no idea how treacherous the deep state could be for him. So it looks like he's finally avoided that problem.
He's maybe, the loyalty is something that, to me, it's almost lip service. I mean, the truth of the matter is you're appointing people that you want, that have been close to you, is some sort of thank you for the support that they've given you, by and large. I mean, and it's always been that way.
Yeah.
There's nothing new to Donald Trump.
Well,
Trump just talks about it openly as loyalty.
No, I'm not offended by the idea that I want people who are loyal to me, that are going to work with me. The only thing that was offensive was people that said that they were going to be loyal 8 years ago couldn't get a knife in his back fast enough. And so that whole, like him or love him, you have to agree that his administration was hamstrung by people just absolutely knifing him in the back and knifing his administration.
You know what I saw today, and I assume I didn't fact check it on social media, but I assume there's some truth to it. Supposedly, Trump's administration has created a list of outgoing administrators, public servants that operated, under Biden's administration, to do a couple of things. One, to monitor what they do as to whether or not they're trying to undermine Trump's administration in any way, as some of them have already been doing, trying to pass these, policies or rules.
Yeah, putting 200,000 acres of federal land off limits for any kind of fracking in the last week of the administration.
Right. But the other thing that they want to do is they want to make sure that these people aren't out there selling themselves for public gain.
Well, but that's what you do. Well,
they're saying that you shouldn't do that.
Well, The way that it works is there's a triangle of influence, and you just bounce around from point to point to point. And one of them is you're in the government, and then you're in the media, and then you are in the private sector.
Lobbying.
Either lobbying, or you and some friends form a business that will profit from having the influence to get the contract or get the grant or get the waiver that you can turn around and sell or use. And, every now and then you have to refresh your contacts on the Hill. And so you go back into government service, you work for an agency for another 4 years. And, in the meantime, and then after you've done that, you can go into media. And, the media is just kind of the in-between limbo, in between government service and private service. And then you go into private and make a lot of money and monetize your influence. And then eventually you have to go refresh that. And you just bounce around between those 3 points of the triangle. And, you do, that's what your entire career consists of. And hopefully at each stop, you're a little bit higher in the agency strata. You're a little bit higher in the lobbying strata. You're getting to where you get to be on the Sunday morning talk shows, and you just kind of work your way up over a 50-year career. And eventually you too can be a master investor like Nancy Pelosi is. And, you can have your own inverse Kramer fund, and suddenly you go from being just Sean Guy, attorney at large, to billionaire with a B. So that's what's going on.
Now, we've had the fires since we last.
Yeah. I really don't know what there is to say about the wildfires that hasn't been said for the last 20 years. They don't clean out their underbrush. The reservoirs are empty. A lot of groundwater and runoff water goes straight into the ocean. I've known that this was going to happen at some point. You see some version of it happening every year during the dry season. What do you want? What do you expect? I mean, it's just, to me, it's not a surprise.
Did you watch or have you seen the clip from Bill Maher Friday night?
No. Well, I saw a clip, and it was him whining about it, but
he was totally eviscerating Democrats and Democratic policy in California.
Well, great timing, Bill. Maybe it would have been nice if you would have pointed all this out when, I don't know, elections were happening and the state was not completely blue.
Well,
now you're going to complain.
Well, right.
Who cares?
All these Democrats are essentially saying, "Oh, you Republicans are just making this a political event." And what Bill said yesterday, I thought was great, which is, no, they're not. They're actually being truthful. You haven't done these things, and you are mismanaging this. They pay the highest state tax of any state in the country. They pay 13.5% of their annual income goes to the state of California. And Mississippi is getting ready to abolish the state tax. Well, it's going to go through.
Yeah, and in the meantime, California is going to get all kinds of federal aid, and the good people of North Carolina
got jack shit.
Got absolutely. Not only did not get anything, but their efforts at rebuilding and restoring their lives are being actively interfered with by FEMA. It's just shocking.
Well, and so I want to come back to this point because I have a theory. But Katrina got even less.
Yeah.
I mean, and to the people that believe that these fires are worse, I initially had this debate with my wife, and I was like, these fires are worse than Katrina. And she's like, no, they're not. And so my wife was correct. If she's listening or does listen, yes, she was right. I went and looked it up, and I think they have currently maybe 25 to 35 lives that have died, been lost and whatever. Katrina had Katrina had like 1,400 lives lost. I mean, the number is not even comparable. They're like, well, we've lost 11,000 homes. That's terrible. It is horrible. Katrina
but it's uninsured property. Who knew that Mississippi had uninsured property?
Well, their property was being dropped because of fire risk.
Right.
Mississippi was being dropped because of hurricane risk.
Well, not just dropped, but then not covered.
Then,
you thought you had a policy.
Yeah, you thought you had a policy.
Wasn't quite what you thought it would be.
Right. And of course, what does California do? They mandate that you can't deny the claim.
Yeah.
I mean, and so.
Which is unconstitutional.
Well, right. Yeah, we're going to just make some private company pay you the money.
Right.
I mean, so that we don't have to pay it or the government doesn't have to pay it. But, the Katrina did so much damage. I mean, thousands more homes were lost in Katrina between New Orleans and Gulf Coast that were completely wiped off. I mean, yeah, there wasn't even the slab was left, but that was it.
Yeah.
I mean, and so if you drive down, I was on the coast not long ago, just a couple months ago, to do some witness interviews. And I was driving down in, kind of a part of Biloxi. There are still neighborhoods in Biloxi that are barren.
Yeah.
Nothing there.
Yeah.
No house, no slab. The debris has been removed. No one has rebuilt. The insurance won't cover. I mean, so it's just, they just sit there. And, so Katrina was terrible. But this whole notion, this is what I wanted to come back to, this whole notion that the government is going to pay 100% of what? That really hadn't been said to me. I don't even really know what that means. Are they going to pay 100% of your rebuild cost? I mean, because normally in a natural disaster, they give you this low interest bearing loan.
Right.
You still have to pay for it. I mean, but
if you can get it permitted.
True. But now what does that mean? Are they going to rebuild all the fire stations, the schools for free for California? The 7-Elevens? I don't know, but I know this. You will not convince me otherwise that the people that live in Pacific Palisades were not major contributors of Biden. There are people in there that know Biden personally, and they called him on the phone or someone in his administration, and they said, you need to pay up. And that's why there's a distinction between California and North Carolina, because North Carolina didn't have that kind of influence with the president. And so he's out there on the television this week talking about the oligarchy. And what he's really saying is that people like Elon Musk are ruining this country. Well, that's bullshit. When you've got people out here in California that have your cell number on fast dial and they call you and say, we want you to guarantee 100% for us, while North Carolina, a red state, gets totally screwed. I mean, that's a problem in this country. And that's what, in my opinion, the Democrats don't seem to understand. I think that's part of why Biden is hitting the road this year.
Well, the conspiracy theorists would say that what's going on in North Carolina is the locals are being forced off of the land so that it can be put up for sale to more politically connected corporations, because there's a lot
in North Carolina.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
To build what? Something other than homes?
A lot of lovely minerals in any mountainous region. Lovely minerals that can be
the same
sold
conspiracy
for
theorists are saying that that's what they're going to do out there in California.
Well, I don't think they're going to be mining the Palisades Hill. I don't think they're going to be setting up uranium mines in Malibu. But you know what? If they do, I more power to them. More power to anybody who wants to rename the Gulf of America. I felt great about that.
I thought it was pretty funny.
I thought it was hilarious. Renaming Greenland.
How do you rename something?
Who do you go to?
Yeah.
Who is in charge? I mean, I think you go to Rand McNally and you say, from now on, by God, you better be printing Gulf of America on there. Our coastline is just as long as Mexico's coastline. They had their 300 years. Now we're going to have our 300 years from now on. It's the Gulf of America. On all official U.S. everything, it's the Gulf of America. What the hell? I don't have a problem with it. I think it's great.
Well, I don't have a problem with it either, but I mean, there's no official body that's going to stamp this the Gulf of America.
Well, and then they're also going to rename Greenland to Trumpville or Trumpburg. I'm not sure what it's going to be. I'm excited about that.
Well, the crazy thing about the whole thing is that, there are people in it's Sweden that controls them,
Denmark.
right? Denmark. In the Denmark government that are like, not a chance in hell, but
who cares what you have to say?
The people of Greenland are like, well, if we can get paid, I want to get paid.
Yeah. Well,
I mean,
Denmark's finding out, look, Greenland, if you look on a globe, Greenland occupies some very strategically important areas, especially vis-a-vis Russia and the U.S. and frankly China. Especially if the Arctic Circle, if the Arctic land mass is shrinking, Greenland becomes a lot more interesting. And Denmark is a big pile of nothing. They're just why does Denmark own Greenland? What? Colonialism. Well, I thought everybody in the EU was against colonialism, so we're going to buy it. Look, most of the United States of America was purchased by square mileage. Most of it was purchased.
Sure, the Louisiana Purchase was the largest purchase ever, right?
Yeah, between Louisiana Purchase and Alaska, that is
what do we buy Alaska for? Like $6 million?
Yeah, $6 million in a can of soup. I can't remember exactly how it went, but it's something like that. So what the hell?
$6 million for that state.
Yeah, I mean, for Canada. I mean. How much is Canada? 12 million?
1 acre in Pacific
Canada.
Palisades is $6 million.
That's what I'm saying. I think we can afford Canada, and I think Greenland gets thrown in. We're the ones who dug the Panama Canal, so I don't know why we can't.
I have to say this about Canada.
Back.
So last night I called my daughter Sydney, and I was like, "So how's your day going?" And of course, she's in this tech company in Austin, and she does sales, and so they do a lot of North American sales calls, which include Canada and Canadian cities, whatever. So yesterday, I called her around lunchtime, and I said, "What are you doing?" "I'm on lunch, blah blah blah." And I said, "Well, how's your day going?" And she says, "Well, I've had 2 contacts today," which is what means that she's actually spoken to someone. And she said, one told me that they wanted to talk to me in February. The other guy told me, "Oh, you're American? Well, I'm not your 51st state. And F you, click."
Well, see, that was her opportunity to call him back and use words like boy.
I said, well, what'd you do?
Let me tell you something, boy.
Well, first of all, she was like, I laughed, and then I sent the call because they recorded it. Yeah. She said, I sent the call to my boss, and everyone thought it was hilarious.
Yeah, I would love to put that on TikTok.
I'm not your 51st, and F you.
Well, they soon will be. But what soon won't be TikTok is just about gone.
Did you hear the most latest news?
Down tomorrow.
I got a news.
You got a news update? What's the news
before
update?
I came up here.
No, let's have it.
That Trump is trying to arrange a 90-day stay.
Well, that's old news. Yeah, I mean,
it just broke on my little news flash on my phone.
No,
well, also Biden's not going to enforce the fines.
Well, that's what he says, but
Biden ain't going to be doing a whole lot of anything.
Yeah, well, I'm not going to do it for one day. Oh wow, that's
a lot. You're a big help.
Yeah,
as ever. I mean, the original idea was that hey, it's owned by a company that's more or less a subsidiary of China's.
Well, you know what's funny? I was watching a news story this morning about it, and so what the Chinese government, I don't know if this confirms what everyone's fears are or not. I kind of think it does, but China has been going out and getting people to create competitive apps that basically do the same thing. And so it's like, and the news this morning on one of the talk shows or something was like, well, so this law is essentially a meaningless law, because what are you going to do every time a new company pops up out of China? You're going to have to write a new law and stamp them out.
Well, you rewind the tape a little bit. The whole thing about for those who didn't follow it, the whole thing about TikTok being a security concern and Congress passing a law that mandated that it would be shut down under certain situations. The biggest one being if it was still owned by a company that is more or less a subsidiary of the Chinese Communist Party, then it gets shut down by a certain day, which is tomorrow, Sunday. Late last week, U.S. Supreme Court turned down an application for a TRO
9-0
that was brought up. Yeah, it was a 9-0 vote. The idea was that this statute violated the First Amendment rights of, I'm not sure whose rights were being violated, but they said security. They didn't issue an opinion that articulated why they were turning it down, the TRO.
Basically, the ruling just said this is a valid law.
Yeah.
And we're not stopping it.
The security concerns. I mean, and they are no joke. I think even Sean Guy, thought leader Sean Guy, would not get TikTok for the longest period of time because you didn't want our Chinese overlords to know all of your like they don't already have all of your personal information. They know it all. Sean, come on, give me a break. But anyway, ever since then, the possibility has been floating around that there would be a forced sale to a U.S. company, because if it's sold to a U.S. company that has no ties to China at all, that eliminates the security concerns and the ban does not go into effect. But that pisses off China big time, because they feel like, well, that's just another way of you stealing our incredibly successful intellectual property, as if China has not been the biggest thief of intellectual property in the history of the world over the last 30 years. So it's it's about time.
What's the bald-headed guy on what's that show with Mark Cuban everyone loves?
Shark Tank. Shark Tank.
Kevin O'Leary, is that his name?
Sure.
Okay.
I don't know.
Apparently, he has a current bid in for $20 billion, which is, 22 short of what Elon paid for Twitter. But that's a big chunk of money for somebody. So it's not like the U.S. is stealing this.
Well, the way that it was probably intended to work was that it was going to be a sale conducted at the point of a gun of, we'll kill the whole thing. And if you want to get anything out of it, it's kind of like the mafia does. It's a nice little laundry you got going. It'd be a shame if anything bad happened to it. But
they don't have any ability to shut it down. I thought it was really interesting of how they essentially said it, which was basically Apple and Google. If you provide this app through your platform, you're going to be fined, millions and millions of dollars.
Well, not quite like that. You had mentioned that there are substitute apps. China does not have TikTok per se, but they do have something that's kind of like it, but it has absolutely no politics whatsoever. And it's called Xiaohongshu. And so that you don't.
I'm impressed with your
with my Chinese articulation. Yeah. Well, I practiced for 2 hours.
Did you really?
Yeah. So yeah.
Now, I'm impressed for that.
Well, there you go. Xiaohongshu is kind of the Chinese TikTok, but it has absolutely no politics. But if you want to watch makeup videos or cooking videos, it translates in
cat
English.
Videos.
Cat videos. It translates into Red Note or Little Red Book.
No, I've seen the Red Note. Yes.
Yeah, and so the Americans who are feeling a little bit adventurous are joining it to the point where it is the #1 free download app on Apple Store this past week.
And the Chinese name is what?
Xiaohongshu.
Xiaohongshu.
It's our show title for the week for those who want to see how
do we
it's
get it
spelled
correct
in English.
spelling?
Yeah.
Xiaohongshu.
Yeah. Xiaohongshu. So for those of you driving,
did I say that correctly?
Xiaohongshu.
Xiaohongshu.
So there you go. It's not a great moment.
Xiaohongshu.
Well, it's not a great moment for.
I'm canceling our show. Right
Ching
now.
chong, ching chong.
Wow, that was clever.
Have you
how did you come up with that?
Have you seen the backup? I mean, the behind the scenes of South Park creating the great special, the shitty and the shitty walk, and
no, but I'd like to.
It's really, really good. He's going through all of the name. It's hilarious.
I can imagine.
And you can watch that, by the way, on TikTok.
Well, you can for about 24 more hours. It's not a great moment for Dave Talk Some More because the only media that we've ever posted any little short videos on is on TikTok, and apparently that all goes away. And so in loving memory of TikTok, I found the last thing of note that I found on TikTok. From time to time, I will post something that I think is interesting on TikTok, and I become obsessed. That's probably not the best word for it. There's this Amish cooking show or cooking personality.
This sounds riveting.
It is. How do I put this? It is the great thing about social media. Hawk to a Girl proved it. The great thing about social media is somebody who could never, ever, ever, ever break through the public zeitgeist, would never make it on TV, would never become famous at all, but for social media, absolutely blows up. There's this Amish cooking girl named Lovina. She's got 885,000 followers, which may not impress the listening audience. We hadn't hit 100 yet. We've been on, what is it? This is episode 56. Like, subscribe, follow, and we still have. She's at 885.
I think most of our listeners are still trying to figure out how to actually watch it on Facebook. So
bless.
But what's interesting about this person, she's like a master baker, and she does all kinds of baking videos. I can't place the accent on this chick, but watch the eyes. I told Danny, give us a 30-second clip and watch her eyes because it is unnerving to see this girl.
Me to make a video showing how I roll out my pie crust because they tried it and they couldn't do it. So today I'm going to make pie crust and show you guys how I make it and how I roll it out. We start by using pastry flour. I do not recommend using all-purpose flour.
Not blinking?
But pastry flour works a lot
Yeah, she
better.
never blinks. I can't tell if she's cross-eyed or not.
And you can use softened butter for this, but if you do not add as much butter as you would lard, and you can also use Crisco.
It's the most, you can turn the sound. You can play it if you can play it with the sound off, but it is, there's just this weird vibe to her. And I mean, is that an Amish vibe? I don't know, but she never blinks.
Apple cider vinegar.
Maybe reading. I don't know if she's reading.
It looks to me like she's reading something.
Yeah.
Seems like, but she is.
But her eyes aren't reading.
She never looks down like she's cooking, she's cutting, she's mixing, she's blending. She never looks at what she's doing. I mean, there she is pouring stuff into a bowl.
Maybe she's
never
blind.
even looks at it.
Yeah, is she
I've
blind?
wondered if she's blind, but then why is she?
Because she does look like. She does look like she very well could be blind.
I don't think she's blind because she's looking. Her eyes are focused dead into the camera, and you'll see her look away, like she just looked away.
Blind.
So you see what I'm saying about what's going on with this girl. By the way, the cooking tip, the baking tips apparently are fantastic.
Well, first of all, I mean, she's Amish, so there's something going on there.
Well, what does that mean? What do you mean by that? What are you trying to say?
Yeah,
say
what are
it
you
out
trying
loud.
to say, Sean?
Yeah,
what are you trying to say?
What are you saying, Sean?
They just live a different lifestyle.
They do live a different lifestyle. I'm not sure what her lifestyle is, but I will say this. I would give up all thought of ever getting into physical fitness shape if I was around this person because her baking skills appear to be absolutely fantastic.
Now,
I mean, she looks like this is
look,
all she's been
cutting
doing.
that very well.
Yeah, she looks like she's been baking since she was 4 years old, and she's, what would you guess, 25-ish? That'd be my guess.
Younger.
You think?
Yes.
I mean, yeah, there's a certain
she looks like she could be 16.
hard to, well, I don't know about that. Hard to say.
Is it a butt plug?
Easy boy. So anyway, this may be the last great internet personality, at least coming through TikTok. So here's
well, my comment earlier about
you,
the cult stick figures would be something that would, my luck would be the one clip that would go viral for us that could put us in the stratosphere.
Would finally get big,
and then
they shut us down the next day.
TikTok gets shut down.
Right. Right. That feels very us.
Yes.
That does feel right. To completely change the subject. So that's he gets inaugurated Sunday. Monday,
No, he gets inaugurated Monday.
Monday, that's right.
The 20th, which
Yeah.
is both President's Day and MLK Day.
And the College Football National Championship Monday night.
And it's and it's my best friend's birthday that day.
I wrote the question down. Do you even care?
No.
Yeah.
I do not.
I mean,
honestly, if I don't watch the game, I'm totally fine with that.
I won't be surprised if I don't watch the game. And it's Monday Night Football game, and we've had 11 playoff games plus some truly meaningless, totally meaningless bowl games.
Have you seen the numbers that have come out on viewership for like all of these recent games?
I haven't, and I wish I'd looked that up because I bet they're brutally low.
They are brutally low.
Yeah.
I mean, big time. We're talking like, I don't know, they had some game, they're like less than the SEC championship.
Oh, that's awful.
Yeah.
Well, nobody wants to watch Boise State play anybody. Nobody wanted to watch Indiana play anybody. And then, Oregon, Ohio State could have been a good game, turned out to be an absolute blowout. So nobody cared about that game. Tennessee, Ohio State, total blowout. Nobody cared about that game. The Texas, Arizona State, that was a fantastic game, but they showed it like at noon. And people don't really care about noon college football games. The last two games weren't that good.
I thought Arizona State showed how, in my opinion, overrated Texas was.
That's one way to put it, except Ohio State has blown everybody out lately after the loss to Michigan until they played Texas. But for some shockingly bad play calling at the end of the game, Texas was right there. They were anything but getting blown out. I mean, they were right there and couldn't close the deal. Really curious play calling. I don't know how you feel about Judkins leaving Ole Miss and then going and probably winning the championship at Ohio State, but he looked good. But you're right. Who cares about any of it? Honestly, if the SEC isn't in it, I think the national ratings are just not that great.
Maybe I know I'm biased.
I know you're biased.
I know I'm biased. I just honestly don't believe that these teams are the best teams in the country.
Well, it's Ohio State and Notre Dame. I think Ohio State has proved they're in the top two. You got plenty of people who could say, "Well, I'm the other one."
Well, I mean,
I don't know.
Everybody wanted to shit on Ole Miss when we lost because we lost to Kentucky, but no one said a damn word about the fact that Notre Dame lost to NIU.
Yeah, well, they did
at home.
Yeah, but that was their only loss, and since then,
that's a pretty bad loss.
It's a bad loss, but everybody had a bad loss.
Another loss worse than that in all of college football this year.
No, that'd be it.
It's the number one loss. But it happened so long ago, it's like everyone forgot about it. And then they didn't play anybody the rest of the year. They won. Now, I'm not taking anything away from them. They have played good football when it mattered most. And much like, college baseball, if you get on a streak at the end, you can win the national championship and not be the best team in baseball. Ole Miss was not the best team in baseball when they won it. Tennessee was that year. You remember how good Tennessee was?
Yeah. I mean, basketball is the same way. You know, you watch watch the 64 team tournament. Don't try to tell me that NC State and Villanova were better than Georgetown and Houston, because they weren't. You know, those were the two giant upsets. But they got on a roll. They got hot at the right time. They won the national championship. Congratulations. Notre Dame got hot at the right time. They're in the national championship game. I expect they're going to get crushed, but you know, okay, they're the ones that won their bracket in the tournament.
I was not surprised that Tennessee lost to Ohio State, because I watched what Tennessee did all year.
Yeah,
and
they were okay.
They were okay. Great. There was nothing about Tennessee that was impressive to me.
Yeah,
I mean, they had a terrible schedule. Their one quality win, in my opinion, was Alabama. Which was a good win.
But the loss to Arkansas at Arkansas that was a brutal loss.
That was a brutal loss. So Tennessee was not impressive to me. I don't think Tennessee was better than Ole Miss, Alabama, even though they beat Alabama, or South Carolina at the end of the season. I just don't.
Yeah, well, they had to pick somebody.
They had to pick someone.
I'm glad they didn't pick Alabama. I knew they weren't going to pick LSU, and put Tennessee in. Sure, why not? You know, they're a fun program to watch, I guess. But they're
a fun program to pull against.
Well, I've never really understood why Ole Miss has a hard-on for we hate Tennessee, but I know that's been a thing for decades. So fine. I mean, you know, they're teams that I get to hate, so that's fine. We all get to hate somebody.
Well, I mean, Ole Miss really just hates two teams.
Really, just two.
Yes.
Just two. Okay.
Yes.
Apparently Tennessee's one. Who's the other? Tennessee's not.
No.
Okay.
State and LSU.
Okay. All right. Well, every Ole Miss fan that I've ever heard from says, no, State hates us. We don't hate them. We don't regard them. We don't notice them. They're not important enough to hate.
Well, but they're our rival. I mean, right. Tennessee's not a rival.
No, because you don't play them every year. If you played them every year, you might feel differently.
But, you know, anyone that plays Tennessee, I mean, Tennessee just has a terrible fan base.
Well, no SEC.
Who likes Tennessee other than Tennessee people?
Well, yeah. Who likes Alabama other than Alabama people?
I mean, I kind of like Alabama. I wish we had the look on your face right now.
It's your last,
because I'm talking.
It's your last week on the show. I can't have that, honestly. I really can't have that.
Let me ask you this. Do you pull for Auburn or Alabama over the other?
I pull for Al-Qaeda if they're playing Alabama.
No, in the Iron Ball, who do you pull for?
I pull for Hitler if he's playing Alabama. Does this help you understand how I feel about it?
You pull for Auburn.
I pull for anybody who's playing Alabama.
Okay.
I pull for anybody who's
Has that
playing
been the way? Has that been that way your whole life, or just in the last 20 years?
No, I was raised right. I have always. I'll put it like this: there was some tornado that, you know, what was it, 15 years ago, that got close in Tuscaloosa, and I was devastated that it didn't hit Bryant-Denny Stadium, because it got close. This is how I feel. Not enough. This is how I feel about Alabama. If a meteor strike came and hit Alabama football,
do you hate Alabama worse than you hate Ole Miss?
I don't hate Ole Miss. I don't hate Ole Miss at all.
Most LSU people hate Ole Miss.
I get that. I've always been an outlier on that. Ole Miss was always my number two because I thought they were intriguing. I really like the elitism of Ole Miss, or I should say, I really like the misplaced elitism.
Yeah, I was going to say,
because Ole Miss people are convinced that they're God's gift, and that is a very misplaced elitism. But it's oddly interesting to me. So, yeah,
well, I mean,
like
it does come from most of our Generation X. It comes from our parents who did witness a good long 15-year period.
Yeah, they had a run a hell of a long time ago.
Well, right, but my point is that whether you're an LSU fan or whether you're an Ole Miss fan, if you're a Generation X person, you in the South, and you're an LSU or Ole Miss Gen X guy, your parents raised you to hate the other school
Right.
because they hated each other.
Right. That's right.
I mean, so
it never took, well, part of it was because my father was a Mississippian. And so I never had any animosity towards Mississippi. I thought it was, growing up in Baton Rouge, big city, I thought Mississippi sure is a small town kind of place, which it is, especially compared to Baton Rouge. But I liked it, and the people were really cool, and I never thought I'd lived here, but I liked Ole Miss. Except for that one Saturday.
In October. It used to be always
October,
the Halloween game.
At Halloween, the other 364 days of the year, I liked Ole Miss just fine. It really didn't know anything about state, so I didn't have any feeling about state. Just like Auburn. I mean, never been to Auburn. What do I care about Auburn?
It's got they do have a beautiful campus. You should go.
But for what? Then I'd be in Auburn, and that wouldn't be good. But Alabama, because I am a God-fearing man, I know evil when I see it, and I hate Alabama, and I judge you if you don't loathe Alabama. There's something deeply wrong with you if you don't hate Alabama.
So did you hate? Were you a Michael Jordan and Bulls hater?
I didn't care.
Okay, well I did. I hated Jordan and the Bulls. Still to this day, I hate the Bulls. Of course, they're non-existent anymore. But I mean, Michael Jordan is still the best basketball player, in my opinion, that's ever played the game. I mean, he is the GOAT,
right?
And I respect that. I hate what Alabama is, but there is.
God, I can't believe you're going to go here.
But there is respect for what they've done.
I'm not.
There's jealousy, right? I wish that we were like that we could win championships the way that they have. I mean, who wouldn't want to win that? I mean, I think
It should be Alabama then. Oh my God!
The arrogance is the worst. That's the thing that I hate the most about Alabama.
If they're having a good year, they're talking about this year. If they're having a bad year, well, they're talking about, well, yeah, but look at when we were great and you weren't great, and you can't shut these people up.
But I do have to say, and I have to admit that the SEC as a whole has been raised because of their success.
God, wow, okay, well,
I mean, that's true.
No, they are a cancer, and they never should have been allowed to exist, and they should have. What happened to Tulane?
I don't like them, but
what happened to Tulane, and what was it, Georgia Tech, that were in the SEC back in like the 1920s, and they left, and I think Rice might have been in the SEC. They all should have been. Alabama, just think of how life would be if Alabama had been invited to go the ways of Rice and Georgia Tech. That it'd just be a better world. We'd all be living in a better place right now. And it didn't happen. And when I go back in time, before I kill Hitler in his crib, I'm going to make sure that Alabama never joins the SEC.
Look, I want to beat Alabama as much as anybody that plays Alabama.
I don't think you do.
No, I do.
I think you like them.
No, I don't.
Okay.
I'm looking at it and saying, okay, yeah, I hate them. I hate what they represent in terms of their fan base. But, I mean, they have had some great success. I mean, there's no denying that. And am I jealous as a football program? Yes. I mean, I would wish we had more success.
I can't understand how we don't have 600,000 viewers with riveting content like this when we're talking about how much I hate Alabama football, and it's not even football season. This has got to be the most Southern conversation ever, because I could talk about Alabama and the evil that they represent in March, in February. It really doesn't matter. I could be walking through the Louvre in the company of the greatest art in the world.
You hate
and if you
Alabama.
said, how do you feel about Alabama right now? I would say, I was just thinking how much I hate them.
You hate Alabama as much as state people hate Ole Miss and as much as Texas A&M people hate Texas.
No, well, Texas people don't hate A&M. They hate Oklahoma.
Right, but
they
I'm
take
talking
no
about Texas. I'm talking about Texas A&M people hating Texas people.
Right. Yeah. There is a profound hate.
That is a hate that is almost unparalleled.
Yeah. Well, this is how I feel. So anyway, I would say the first 10 in the last 15 minutes, Danny, if you can cut that off, it'll be a better show.
No problem.
Thank you.
So what do we got going on this week? Anything?
I have no idea what's coming up in the news. But since your boy's taking charge, the haircut's taking charge, and I assume has a long list of things he's going to do, has already announced that there's going to be mass deportation starting Tuesday in Chicago. Curious to see how it's going to happen.
Well,
I'm very curious.
I am curious
to see
too.
how
I mean,
it
like
goes.
how?
Stay away from the parking lot.
Where
of
are
your
you
local
rounding
Home
these people
Depot.
up from?
Stay away from the parking lot of your local Home Depot.
And
that's all I can tell you.
Are you flying them back in military planes to where?
I don't know. They've got camps set up, probably in any shopping mall, because they're basically deserted.
We're going to have some deportation internment camps.
I don't know how it's going to go. Sean.
Hidden in Montana.
Why can't we put them on the same planes that they were flown in on? How about that?
Well,
how about that? We'll take them to Honduras. Because the president of Honduras said that we're going to close down the U.S. military base there if any Hondurans are deported. So I think we'll just
wait.
Take them all
Wait. Time out.
Yeah.
Time out.
You didn't hear about this?
You're telling me that the country of Honduras said if the United States flies into
if the U.S. deports Hondurans
they're
going to
Honduras,
then they're going to shut down the U.S. military base there.
How are they going to shut that down?
It's curious to see how they do that. That'll be good times for them. Of course, he's got the easiest answer in the world is to say, that's fine. You know what? We don't want to be there. You invited us there. You asked us to build a base there. We would love to pull it out. The other thing that we're going to pull out is remittances. That is the ring in the nose of all of the Latin American countries. Is their economies are floating on the remittances that come out of the U.S., billions of dollars, and we can turn that off anytime that we want to, and then all the money that's going south, that stops. And that is the ring in their nose that he or any leader can use to say, I think from now on you're going to do what I want you to do, because I can wreck your economy in 24 hours. Wreck it. I mean, it's kind of like the Hamas-Israel deal is they basically settled for the same thing that was on offer back March. Why are they taking it now instead of they wouldn't take it in March? I think 47 might have something to do with that.
Oh, ask Joe Biden. Did you see what that joker said?
Joe can say whatever he wants to. The fact of the matter
Are you
is,
serious? He scoffed at it.
Yeah, I mean, the fact of the matter is this happened because when you have somebody who says, I'm going to use hard U.S. power, funny how stuff starts getting done. Funny how Panama Canal, suddenly they're not so nice to China. Funny how a lot of things happen.
I have to play
Ukraine.
dumb here because honestly, I have not kept up with it. I do not know. Where is this Panama Canal stuff coming from?
It's in Panama.
No,
there's
I know
a canal.
that.
They dug a canal
what I don't
the
understand is what is the urgent issue that's.
I don't know that there's anything urgent, but part of the deal that it wasn't much of a deal that Carter cut when he gave it away literally for $1. But part of the deal was U.S. shipping always gets priority, and U.S. shipping always gets some cheap rate. I don't know what it is. Well, Panamanians figured out a long time ago that they could thumb their nose at the U.S., and so the complaint being raised by U.S. shipping interest is that Chinese and other places are getting priority at the Panama. I mean, it's a one-ship canal. Well, it's kind of a two-way road, but it's, you know, if you're trying to get from the Pacific to the Gulf of America, that's what we're going to call it.
There are parts that are very narrow and parts that are not.
Well, I mean, the fact of the matter is, you know, it's a parking lot on both sides. When you get into the deep water, it's a parking lot waiting your turn, and that's a lot of money to sit in traffic waiting for your turn through the Panama Canal. And the deal was supposed to be American shipping first, which would basically turn it into America shipping only, which would be really good for American economy. And they're not doing it. And so somebody complained to Trump, and Trump said, "Oh, I can fix that real easily." And apparently he's got it fixed. And there are a lot of
solution
things
already in place.
There are a lot of things that
well, you know what was happening?
Stop doing that.
China just started paying them a shitload of money.
Well,
and they're like, we're not getting anything from the U.S.
Yeah, other than the canal itself, which
Yes.
we already have. So past consideration is no consideration, as they'll teach you in contract law. Well, Daniel, make it 30 minutes, the last 30 minutes. Cut that off in post before it gets any worse. We hope to see y'all next Sunday. We might even have a guest. Who knows? Otherwise, Danny, get me out of here.